stand clear of the doors.
Really bring to our viewers and listeners the fact that if you think Toronto's expensive right now, and I understand that Manhattan has 8.5 million people, so it's approximately 1.5 million more than the Greater Toronto Area does. But we know in 10 years that's exactly going to be our population.
Well, the way we've what we've done with the Greenbelt legislation is kind of forcing the GTA to be like Manhattan.
High density.
And high density, it's its own island. We can't build out, so we have to build up. And to see what they've done there, it really is a snapshot into what I think our future here will be in Toronto. It might take a while, but I think that's the way we're going.
So make sure, Clem, all the footage that you got while you were, I don't know where you were sometimes getting footage and stuff. That's probably the most asked question while we were near. Where's Clem? Where's Clem? But all joking aside, I saw the hours upon hours of content and be-real, so to speak, that you captured. It was so inspiring for me to see, to almost... to almost be able to forecast kind of what Toronto's going to be like in 10, 15 years. Manhattan is flirting price per square foot around $3,000. We're at an average of about $1,200, $1,100.
Yeah.
It's
amazing to see a city, how you can get so many people in such a small area, and it works. It works really, really well.
It works really, really well. I mean, their transit is awesome. So it's obviously something that we need to work on here in Toronto. But no matter what, the 1.5 million people are coming in the next 10 years. And that's just like Immigration Canada stats. I mean, there's still, interprovincial immigration, which is probably slated at another 250 to 300,000 people over those 10 years. And so it's quite basic.
It's so basic. Supply and demand.
Like very easy, right? Like we just don't have enough bread. Using kind of a bakery analogy, there's just not enough bread to go around for everyone in line. So the baker will generally increase the pricing of the bread that he or she has.
So I think here we have to just start wrapping our heads around this as being the new normal.
Right. And here's the thing. With that many people coming in terms of population, we're always going to have the renters. Like you're going to have renters that need housing once they land in Pearson.
Yeah, they need somewhere to go.
They need a place to go.
And they don't know, and there's a lot of people who move to the city and they haven't figured out where they want to live. So people like that. I'll live here for a bit and then I'll figure out where I want to go. There's also people who, buying a condo is expensive now. It's going to be more expensive. And so that might stretch out the amount of time that people have to rent in order to save some money for a down payment.
I love the fact that you talked about people living in condos. Also because we were obviously in a 3,000 to 3,500 square foot unit, but most of Manhattan is on an average is 450 to 500 square feet.
Yeah.
Toronto's already trending that way. 7 years ago, we used to say Toronto's going to have micro units. The average now is 500 square feet, really, that we see people purchasing.
But once we've seen what's happened in New York, they're going to get smaller.
For sure they are. But even if they get smaller, or stick with the 450 to 500 square foot units, you've been in thousands of them now. They're very practical for the people that are going to be living in them.
For the lifestyle. That's where people have a hard time with, people who don't live in the city, because they think of their lifestyle, which is, I open up my back door, I let my dog out, I'm going to, walk around and pick food out of my garden.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily the lifestyle that people want when they live in a condo. I know a lot of people in New York, they don't, their kitchen is not, how we always say, kitchen is the heart of the home. That's not like that in condos. A lot of people, they don't even eat at their house. They either pick up food on the way home, they Uber, they go out to restaurants. That's where they want to spend their money. It's a lifestyle. We have to look at it from a different set of eyes.
And so when we talk about location, why was it important for Related to be involved in this development from a location perspective?
Yeah, so frankly, that was our biggest challenge when we first started, right? So, the first piece, right, where we were master planning that happened that was absolutely critical was the public sector totally came through on what they promised would happen here. So there's been about $4 billion spent in and around the Hudson Yards area.
Okay.
The Javits Center.
Those are Bs. Yeah.
Yes.
Billions. Yeah. Just some dollars.
So the Javits Center was renovated, so it was a $500 million project. That sort of gave it a new lease on life. As our convention center in town, that sits right across the street from us here at Hudson Yards. There was $1 billion invested in the parks in the area,
Okay.
Hudson Park and Boulevard, Hudson River Park, and the High Line, which has really become the #1 tourist attraction in New
Yeah.
York City that feeds right into our site.
Right.
But the most critical parts of this was the extension of the #7 subway.
Okay.
So for us, that was a game changer. It's
transit.
extremely critical because what the 7 train does in New York is it runs east to west.
Okay.
Most train lines in the city run north to south. So it picks up 18 of the 24 lines in the system, basically goes Grand Central, Bryant Park, Times Square. So anywhere you're coming from, Brooklyn, Queens,
Right.
Manhattan proper, you can get right to our, front door. So that was really critical. And then we have, great access back to Penn Station, which is 2
Right.
blocks, busiest transit hub in the country. That's undergoing, a major renovation. Amtrak is basically, the regional transportation hub is basically moving 1 block closer to Hudson Yards,
Okay.
which gives our folks, greater regional, transportation. But during that time, there was also a shift that kind of happened. So
Okay.
we were really fortunate that while we were master planning the city, or at least it felt like the city shifted to the south and west. So first piece was arts and culture,
Okay.
which generally happens, right?
Right.
So the big moment was when the Whitney Museum left the Upper East Side, came down to the High Line. That spurred a tremendous amount of residential development.
Okay.
So we own and operate over 25 luxury rental buildings here in town. We get our highest rents south of 30th Street. 5 years ago, 6 years
Isn't
ago,
that so interesting?
when we started the project,
Yeah.
that was the exact opposite,
Opposite.
right? Our lowest rents now are on the Upper East Side. So the world kind of shifted. And then what happened from there is the office followed the residential, right? So today, there's actually more.
Which it normally
fortunate-
does, right?
Exactly. Exactly. 30 Hudson Yards, which is our tallest office tower,
Okay.
about 1,296 feet. That building's 100% committed.
Just huge.
100% committed.
Yeah.
Do you think the subway line extension has a lot to do with that?
Yes, I mean that was definitely a big factor, right? People needed to understand that they could get here, and the 7 train again because of that east-west connectivity. It's the subway line that you would want to come to your front door. And then in addition to that, again, everything kind of moving here. So if we look at, frankly, where the decision makers live, they're kind of in this general area now. People want to live here.
Right.
They want to be in this area. And then just overall, again, from a more macro perspective,
Right.
NYU did a study that basically, said Hudson Yards is the most accessible site in the region because we have 5 million people that live within a 40-minute commute. And there's a couple reasons, right?
5 million people within a 40-minute
40-minute
commute.
commute.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's not
That's
only,
important.
right? And it's not only the 7 train. It's not only the transit, back to Penn Station, which again I said is the busiest transit hub
Right.
in the country. We're also close to the Lincoln Tunnel and the 39th Street Ferry Terminal,
Okay.
which has become increasingly important to folks living on the Jersey side of the river, right? So
Lincoln
there's the
Tunnel is the one
suburbs.
that connects Jersey.
Exactly. So
Got
Lincoln
it.
Tunnel and the 39th Street Ferry Terminal does the same thing. Basically comes 5 blocks from Hudson Yards. Weehawken, Hoboken, Jersey City, all these waterfront towns. There's just a huge millennial population there, right? So a lot of the workforce, lives, on the Jersey side of the river.
Right.
We're right next to the 30th Street heliport, which is great for sea level access
Yes.
in and out of the city. So again, any kind of way you're coming here, and from wherever you're coming, you have great access.
Access to
which is
Tremendous.
always,
Tremendous.
which is always the key.
With real estate, and especially, and you'll know, Stephen, as us as real estate guys, all here at the table, you being in other major cities in the country and as well as Dubai, that when you can buy close to a transit line,
Sure.
your values and the rents that you can expect to get are always and will always be the highest.
Exactly.
Right? And then so even the stuff that you're doing with related in other cities, are you guys always trying to kind of buy around transit lines? And is that generally what you guys are trying to do from
Yeah,
a related perspective?
we're-
like a macro perspective?
Or places that have the ability to bring transit to them, right?
Right.
And I think, look, our secret sauce. We were founded over 40 years ago. By Steve Ross. We view ourselves as the most prominent private real estate development company in the country. We've been the developers behind the Time Warner Center, $3 million for project up at Columbus Circle.
Wow.
Our secret sauce is going into cities and creating new cities, right?
Right.
So big mixed use, master planned projects. Time Warner Center was kind of the first, into that
Right.
sort of space.
Right.
That was tremendously successful. I think if you ask Steve Ross, Jeff Blau, Bruce Beal, our biggest mistake there was we didn't acquire everything around us.
Hindsight's 2020, right?
It's never enough.
We let everyone else kind of benefit from the creation of that. and we're not letting that happen again.
Never
So
again.
if you look at what we've developed here, we
Right.
obviously built Hudson Yards proper, which is 30th Street to 33rd Street,
Right.
10th Avenue to 12th Avenue. We've acquired sites to the south. We've acquired sites to the north.
Right.
So we're really trying
Well, this is
to.
a really special site.